The Drachnid Empire's Supreme Commander Zelkath stood before the massive holographic display, his scaled fingers tapping rhythmically against his command console. The primitive planet designated Sol 3 rotated slowly before him, its continents clearly visible beneath swirling cloud patterns. According to all their observations, the species that called themselves humans had barely achieved spaceflight, their technology limited to chemical rockets and basic orbital stations. Pathetic, he muttered, mandibles clicking in contempt. Another species that will require guidance to achieve their potential. The Drachnid Empire had encountered countless civilizations in their expansion across the galaxy, all of them eventually submitting to imperial rule for their own good. This one would be no different. Lieutenant Commander Vex approached, her crystalline armor reflecting the blue glow of the command center's ambient lighting. Supreme Commander, the invasion fleet is assembled. 50,000 ships, our largest deployment yet. The humans' primitive detection systems show no sign of noticing our presence at the edge of their solar system. Zelkath's inner eyelids flickered in satisfaction. Excellent. Their first indication of our existence will be when we appear in their skies. Begin the jump sequence. Supreme Commander, another officer called out, we're detecting an unusual quantum signature from the direction of their asteroid belt. Zelkath turned his attention to the new data stream. Probably natural phenomena. These primitives couldn't possibly. The holographic display suddenly flickered, and where moments before there had been empty space, thousands of structures materialized throughout the asteroid belt. Massive facilities, shipyards, and defense platforms, all bearing designs unlike anything the Drachnids had encountered in their millennia of conquest. Impossible, Zelkath breathed. Their technology level. Supreme Commander, Vex's voice carried an edge of panic. New contacts, tens of thousands of them, emerging from quantum fields throughout the system. The display erupted with new signatures as humanity's true fleet revealed itself. Ships of impossible configurations, some organic-looking, others seemingly made of pure energy, all of them radiating power signatures that dwarfed anything in the Drachnid arsenal. A transmission cut through every frequency, bypassing the Empire's most sophisticated encryption as if it didn't exist. The image that appeared showed a human female, dressed in what appeared to be casual attire, seated at a simple desk. "Greetings, Supreme Commander Zelkath," she said, speaking perfect Drachnid standard. "I am Admiral Helena Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We've been watching your Empire's expansion for the past 3 centuries, studying your tactics, technology, and intentions." She smiled, the expression somehow more terrifying than any threat display Zelkath had ever encountered. "We decided to let you make the first hostile move. It makes the diplomatic aftermath so much cleaner." Zelkath's secondary heart began beating rapidly. You've been watching us." "Of course. Did you think you were the only ones capable of long-range observation? We learned early in our development that the best way to survive in a hostile universe was to hide our true capabilities. To watch, to learn, and to prepare." Her expression hardened. "We've seen how your empire treats primitive species, the subjugation disguised as guidance, the cultural erasure masked as progress. We've had 300 years to prepare our response." The tactical display updated again, showing human vessels now surrounding the invasion fleet, having moved into position without triggering a single sensor alert. "Your ships are now within our quantum containment fields," Admiral Chen continued. "In a moment, we're going to demonstrate some capabilities that your Empire's scientists have deemed theoretically impossible. Consider it a greeting card from humanity." Before Zelkath could respond, every ship in his fleet simultaneously lost power. Quantum cores went dark, artificial gravity failed, and even backup systems remained stubbornly silent. Through the command center's viewports, he watched in horror as points of light appeared around each human vessel. "Don't worry," Chen said, her smile returning. "We're not going to destroy your fleet. That would be wasteful, and might give the wrong impression to other spacefaring species. Instead, we're going to give you a choice. Your empire can either reform its ways and join the galactic community as equals, Or, she gestured, and one of the nearby asteroids simply ceased to exist, replaced by a sphere of what appeared to be liquid spacetime. Well, let's focus on the diplomatic option for now. Zelkath, Supreme Commander of the greatest military force the galaxy had ever known, found himself doing something he hadn't done since he was a hatchling. He trembled. "Your fleet's power will be restored shortly," Chen continued. "I suggest you use that time to contact your Emperor. Let them know that the era of imperial expansion is over. Humanity is emerging onto the galactic stage, and we have some thoughts about how things should be run from now on." The transmission ended, leaving Zelkath staring at the tactical display where his mighty invasion fleet hung powerless, surrounded by technology that shouldn't exist, developed by a species that had spent centuries preparing for this very moment. They had aimed to conquer a primitive world. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant, one that had been watching, waiting, and preparing. As emergency chemical lights cast an eerie glow through the command center, Zelkath realized that the galaxy would never be the same again. Emperor Krasful's personal chamber shook as another quantum blast struck the Imperial Palace's shields. The Emperor's chitinous armor gleamed under the emergency lighting as he watched his capital world burn through windows of supposedly indestructible crystal. Human ships hung in the sky like dark stars, their organic crystalline hulls defying every attempt at classification by Imperial sensors. "How?" he demanded, turning to face the holographic projection of Supreme Commander Zelkath. "How did we miss this level of technological advancement?" "They hid everything," Zelkath replied, his usual composure shattered. "The quantum signatures we detected from their primitive satellites. Deliberate breadcrumb trails, leading our analysts to exactly the conclusions they wanted. Their visible technology was a facade, maintained for centuries, while they built something far beyond our understanding." The palace shook again. Outside, another defense platform dissolved into quantum foam as human weapons bypassed shields that had withstood the combined firepower of entire alien armadas. The attacks were precise, surgical. Every strike disabled military capabilities while avoiding civilian casualties. 300 years, Krasful mused, his secondary mandibles clicking in agitation. "They watched us for 300 years, building, preparing, waiting for us to make the first aggressive move. And we obliged them." A new hologram appeared, pushing aside Zelkath's projection. Admiral Chen's image materialized, still wearing that unsettling human smile. "Emperor Krasful, your orbital defenses have been neutralized. Your fleets are contained. Your military installations throughout the Empire have been located and isolated. Would you like to discuss terms?" Terms. The Emperor's voice carried millennia of imperial authority. "The Drachnid Empire does not surrender. We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. We uplifted countless species, guided them towards civilization. You enslaved them," Chen interrupted, her smile fading. "You forced them to abandon their cultures, their traditions, their very identities, all while convincing yourselves you were doing them a favor." Her image was replaced by a series of recordings, Imperial forces pacifying resistant populations, erasing ancient monuments, replacing native languages with Imperial standard. "We've watched you for centuries," Chen continued, her voice hardening. "We've documented every atrocity, every act of cultural genocide, every species forced to conform to your vision of civilization. We waited, gathering evidence, building consensus among Earth's nations, preparing for the moment when you would reveal your true nature by attempting to subjugate us as well." The Emperor's inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "If you've disabled our military capabilities, why not simply destroy us? Why offer terms at all?" Chen's smile returned, but there was something different in it now. Not cruel, but determined. "Because unlike the Drachnid Empire, humanity doesn't believe in imposing our will through force alone. We're offering you a chance to be part of something new. A true galactic community, built on mutual respect and cooperation, not dominance and submission. A new series of holograms appeared, showing transformed worlds. Former imperial colonies where native cultures flourished alongside advanced technology, where ancient traditions merged with new innovations in ways the Empire had never imagined possible. "This is what we've been building in secret," Chen explained. "Networks of resistance, underground movements, preserving what your empire tried to destroy. We didn't just prepare militarily. We prepared culturally, diplomatically, helping your subject species maintain their identities while appearing to conform to imperial standards." Krasthal watched as more images appeared, hidden cities where alien species maintained their ancestral ways, secret networks of communication and cultural exchange, all operating beneath the Empire's notice for centuries. "Your empire is already falling," Chen continued, "not from our military action, but from within. The moment we revealed ourselves, these networks activated. Your subject species are reclaiming their worlds, their cultures, their freedom. The only question is whether the Drachnid species will join us in building something better, or cling to your outdated notions of imperial supremacy until you stand completely alone." The Emperor stood silent for a long moment, watching through his palace windows as human ships methodically dismantled generations of imperial military might without firing a single lethal shot. In 300 years of watching, humanity had learned not just how to defeat the Empire, but how to transform it. "What are your terms?" he finally asked, his voice carrying the weight of a civilization at a crossroads. Chen's expression softened slightly. "Let's start with independence for any species that wants it, followed by reparations for cultural damages, and the establishment of a new galactic council where all species have equal voice. Your people have much to contribute, Emperor, once you learn to work with others instead of dominating them." As the terms were laid out, Krasthal realized that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their advanced technology or military precision. It was their capacity to imagine and create a fundamentally different way for civilizations to interact. They had spent centuries preparing not just to defeat the Empire, but to transform it into something entirely new. The galaxy would never be the same, and for the first time in his long life, the Emperor wondered if that might actually be for the better. Resistance leader Kyrax watched in awe as the human vessels materialized above his homeworld. Their ships defied conventional design, appearing as translucent crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light. For 3 centuries, his people had maintained their cultural identity in secret, waiting for this moment. The Imperial garrison's weapons fired uselessly at the human fleet, their energy weapons absorbed and redirected harmlessly into space. A voice echoed through every communication device on the planet, speaking in perfect Nexari, his people's forbidden ancestral language. "People of Nexar Prime, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth. The time has come to reclaim your world." The underground bunkers beneath the planet's surface burst into activity. Hidden quantum transmitters, provided by human operatives generations ago, activated simultaneously. Across the planet, holographic projectors revealed ancient Nexari architecture that had been hidden beneath Imperial construction, preserved through centuries of occupation. From his command center, Kyrax watched the tactical displays as human ships systematically disabled the Imperial defense grid. Their weapons weren't designed to destroy, but to transform. Each blast converted Imperial technology into raw materials that could be repurposed. The occupying forces found their weapons transformed into communication devices, broadcasting messages of liberation in hundreds of native languages. "Commander," his second-in-command reported, "human ground forces are deploying, but they're different from anything we expected." Through the command center's windows, Kyrax watched as points of light descended from the human ships. They weren't dropships or invasion craft, but individual humans wearing what appeared to be simple environmental suits. As they landed, the suits transformed, adapting to Nexari atmospheric conditions while maintaining their occupants' comfort. The humans moved through the Imperial defenses like ghosts, Their technology didn't just bypass shields and armor, it ignored them completely, as if the laws of physics themselves bent to human will. Imperial troops found their weapons transforming in their hands, their armor becoming permeable to the planet's air, but impervious to any attempts at self-harm. They're not just defeating the Empire, Kyrax realized. They're saving everyone, even their enemies. A human officer approached his position, her suit shifting to match the crystalline patterns of Nexari formal wear. "Commander Kyrax," she said, speaking his name with perfect inflection. "I'm Captain Maya Rodriguez. We've come to help implement the liberation protocols your people have been preparing for generations." Around them, more hidden systems activated. Quantum archives began broadcasting the true history of Nexar Prime, showing young Nexari their unfiltered heritage for the first time. Imperial propaganda networks transformed into cultural preservation databases, their storage systems repurposed to house millennia of preserved knowledge. "Your ancestors were brilliant architects of quantum space," Maya explained, gesturing to the ancient structures emerging from their hiding places. "The Empire forced you to abandon your understanding of 11-dimensional engineering. We're here to help you reclaim that knowledge, and to show you what humanity has learned from studying your ancestors' work." The sky above them shimmered as human ships began the process of restoring Nexar Prime's original quantum alignment. The imperial restructuring of local spacetime had forced the Nexari to live in only 4 dimensions. Now, their world was being restored to its true 11-dimensional nature. "We didn't just preserve your history," Maya continued, her suit resonating with the quantum frequencies that were natural to Nexari biology. "We studied it, learned from it, and advanced it. Your people theorized about quantum consciousness manipulation. We made it reality. Your ancestors dreamed of ships that could traverse dimensional barriers. We built them." Kyrax watched as his world transformed. The rigid geometric patterns of imperial architecture dissolved, replaced by the flowing, multi-dimensional designs of true Nexari construction. His people emerged from hiding, their natural crystalline forms refracting light in ways that had been forbidden for generations. "Why?" he asked finally. "Why did humanity spend centuries preparing for this? Why help species you'd never even met?" Maya's suit shifted, becoming partially transparent to reveal her smile. "Because we learned early in our development that the greatest power isn't in destroying or dominating, but in preserving and uplifting. Your people, and countless others, taught us more than the Empire ever could. We just had to be patient enough to learn, and wise enough to wait for the right moment to act." Above them, the last Imperial ships were being contained, their crews offered the same choice being presented across the galaxy. Adapt to a new way of existence, or face isolation from the emerging galactic community. Human technology hadn't just surpassed the Empire's understanding. It had rendered their entire philosophy of dominance obsolete. The liberation of Nexar Prime wasn't just a military victory. It was proof that humanity's greatest weapon was its capacity to learn, to preserve, and to transform rather than destroy. As his world continued its metamorphosis, Kyrax realized that the galaxy wasn't just being freed, it was being reborn. The Grand Assembly Hall of the former Imperial Palace had been transformed. Where once strict geometric patterns reinforced Drachnid dominance, now the architecture flowed organically, incorporating design elements from 1,000 liberated species. Emperor Krasful, stripped of his military authority, but maintained as a cultural leader, watched delegates from across the galaxy take their places in the newly formed Galactic Council. Human quantum engineering had reconstructed the chamber to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously, allowing each species to perceive and interact with the space in a way that felt natural to their biology. The Nexari crystalline forms refracted light through 11 dimensions, while gaseous Varian delegates swirled in patterns that told stories in 4-dimensional space. Admiral Chen, now serving as Earth's first council representative, stood at the center of the chamber. Her simple civilian attire contrasted sharply with the ceremonial garb of other species, yet somehow commanded more attention. "This assembly marks the beginning of a new era," She began, her words translating perfectly into hundreds of languages simultaneously, not through force or dominance, but through understanding and cooperation. The display above her showed the progress of the past month. Imperial worlds transformed, ancient cultures restored, and technological advances that merged human innovation with recovered alien knowledge. But most striking were the statistics on violence. 0 deaths during the transition, 0 species choosing isolation over cooperation, 0 instances of forced cultural conversion. Humanity's greatest achievement wasn't our technology. Chen continued, gesturing to the quantum formations that maintained the chamber's dimensional stability. It was our patience, our willingness to watch, to learn, and to understand before acting. We spent centuries preparing not just to defeat an empire, but to heal a galaxy. Krasthull rose to speak, his once imposing frame now holding a different kind of dignity. We believed we were uplifting primitive species, guiding them toward our vision of civilization. Humanity showed us a different path, one where advancement comes through preservation and cooperation rather than dominance and conformity. The chamber's quantum field rippled as a Nexari delegate activated their ancient dimensional engineering capabilities, prohibited for generations under imperial rule. The resulting display showed the new trade routes and cultural exchanges already forming between formerly isolated species. Knowledge and traditions suppressed for millennia were flowing freely, creating combinations of technology and philosophy that neither humans nor the Empire had imagined possible. Our greatest fear, Chen revealed, was that in stopping the Empire, we would become like it, another force imposing its will on the galaxy. That's why we waited, why we built networks of preservation rather than weapons of destruction. We wanted to demonstrate that true power lies not in the ability to destroy or dominate, but in the capacity to transform and uplift. The chamber's displays shifted again, showing the thousands of imperial citizens who had chosen to join the new order, their military training repurposed for peaceful exploration and cultural preservation. Former conquest fleets were being transformed into research vessels, their crews learning to study and protect rather than subjugate. The age of empires is over, Chen declared, her words resonating through the quantum field that connected all present. The age of collaboration has begun. Each species here has something unique to contribute, knowledge and perspectives that can benefit all. Together, we can build something far greater than any empire could achieve through force. As the session continued, delegates from formerly oppressed species shared their preserved knowledge, each revelation building upon the last. Human quantum engineering merged with Nexari dimensional mathematics, Varian energy manipulation techniques enhanced ancient Drachnid biotechnology, and new forms of civilization began to emerge. The galaxy was transforming, not through conquest or destruction, but through the patient, careful preservation and combination of knowledge. Humanity had spent centuries preparing not just to defeat an empire, but to midwife the birth of something entirely new. A civilization built on the principle that true strength lies in diversity, preservation, and cooperation. 5 years after the transformation began, the Sol system had become the heart of a new kind of galactic civilization. The asteroid belt, once hiding humanity's true technological capabilities, now hosted the Multiversal Academy of Cultural Preservation, where species from across the galaxy came to learn and share knowledge suppressed for millennia. Dr. Helena Chen, formerly Admiral, stood in her favorite observation dome on Mars, watching ships of countless designs arrive through quantum space. Each vessel represented a different approach to physics, engineering, and dimensional manipulation. Some were crystalline structures that phased through multiple realities, others were living ships grown from engineered biotech, and still others were pure energy given form by the collective consciousness of their crews. Quite a change from when we were pretending to barely manage chemical rockets, a familiar voice observed. Helena turned to see Emperor Emeritus Krasthull, his once militant bearing replaced by the relaxed posture of a scholar. The former emperor now served as the head of Drachnid Cultural Studies, working to separate his people's true heritage from the imperial dogma that had overshadowed it. Sometimes I wonder if we waited too long, Helena admitted, watching a Nexari vessel execute an 11-dimensional docking maneuver. How many species suffered while we prepared? And how many would have been lost forever if you had acted hastily? Krasful countered. Your patience allowed you to preserve what we would have destroyed. Look there. He gestured to a holographic display showing cultural recovery efforts across the former empire. The display showed ancient traditions being reborn on 1,000 worlds. Languages once banned were being spoken again, art forms thought lost were being recreated, and technologies suppressed for generations were being rediscovered and advanced. But most importantly, these recovered cultures weren't simply returning to their past. They were evolving, combining their ancestral knowledge with new innovations. We're tracking over 10,000 new technological breakthroughs, reported Dr. Maya Rodriguez, materializing through a quantum portal. Her environmental suit, now a standard design across human space, shifted to match the formal patterns of both her companions. The combination of recovered knowledge and open collaboration is advancing our understanding of the universe faster than any single species could manage alone. The observation dome's displays updated, showing the latest developments. Drachnid biotechnology, freed from its military focus, had revolutionized medicine across the galaxy. Nexari dimensional engineering had opened new frontiers in space exploration. Variant energy manipulation techniques had solved power generation challenges on thousands of worlds. The real revolution wasn't technological, Helena observed, watching a group of young Drachnid scholars discussing philosophy with representatives from species their ancestors had once conquered. It was psychological. We proved that advancement doesn't require dominance. A soft chime announced the arrival of more data from the Deep Space Monitoring Network, the same system humans had used to watch the Empire for centuries. But now, instead of looking for threats, it searched for signs of emerging civilizations that might need protection and guidance during their development. We found another one, Maya announced, bringing up the data. Free FTL civilization, showing signs of quantum awareness. Based on their development patterns, they'll achieve basic spaceflight within a decade. And we'll be ready, Krasful added, his mandibles clicking in what had become recognizable as a smile. Not to conquer or control, but to welcome and protect, to share knowledge while preserving their unique perspective. Helena nodded, remembering the centuries of preparation that had led to this moment. Humanity had hidden its true nature not out of fear, but out of wisdom, understanding that true power lay not in the ability to destroy, but in the patience to build something better. The observation dome filled with new holographic displays as more ships arrived for the upcoming Galactic Cultural Exchange. Each vessel carried knowledge, traditions, and perspectives that had survived centuries of oppression, preserved by human networks until they could safely re-emerge. The galaxy hadn't just been freed from an empire. It had been reborn as something far greater. We spent 300 years learning how to defeat an empire, Helena mused, watching the continuous flow of ships and ideas. But in the end, we did something far more difficult. And far more important, we learned how to build a civilization that makes empires obsolete. As the sun set over the Martian horizon, casting the dome in golden light, the displays showed similar scenes playing out across thousands of worlds. Species once divided by imperial doctrine were learning from each other, combining their knowledge and perspectives to solve challenges that had once seemed insurmountable. The age of empires was over, replaced by something humanity had spent centuries preparing for. An era of preservation, collaboration, and growth. The galaxy had been transformed not by force of arms, but by patience, wisdom, and the understanding that true strength lies in diversity. Humanity had hidden its light for centuries, waiting for the right moment not to conquer, but to illuminate a path forward for all species. As night fell on Mars, the stars above shone, not with the cold light of imperial dominion, but with the warm glow of 1 trillion cultures, each contributing their unique light to the cosmic dawn of a new age.